You burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation. At least the job is done. We saw the new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda. Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. You were looking forward to seeing more of him. You thought he was charming. You were not interested in him. You weren't sure how to feel. You thought he gave a pretty bad first impression. You decided he definitely wasn't someone you liked. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of forward, and that was like... You thought he gave a... but I felt like he was trying too hard. He was trying... he was trying a little too hard. You thought he gave a pretty bad first impression. You actually experienced it firsthand, but you were finding the last several minutes of your life hard to believe. You couldn't imagine what this summer was going to be like with Baxter here, and you weren't sure how much you wanted to actually see him again. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all thoughts of Baxter aside. You both started making your way towards town. You took his hand, you took his arm, you walked next to him side by side, you took his hand. You slid your palm into his, and Cove laced his fingers with yours. His expression instantly became happier, and he lightly squeezed your hand. A little while later, you and Cove reached a main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking. What's wrong? I think I heard my phone. You dug your cell phone out and looked at it with a satisfied grin. There was a new message. You opened the new text from Miranda, and all you saw was, "I can see you." Immediately from where you stood, you stopped swiveling your head around. You started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. "I saw you holding Cove's hand. Scandalous. Where are you?" Haha, come on. Really, Randy? Oh, I got to say, oh, I see. Where are you? Haha, come on. Really, Randy? Scandalous. Where are you? The message was sent and you were back to looking around, scanning for any sign of movement and familiar faces. But they were still visible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. "Miranda, come out!" You sighed at the ridiculousness. You burst into laughter at our antics. You sent your own joking text. You grabbed onto Cove again, wanting to show Miranda how scandalous you could be. You sent your own joking text. "If you want to keep hiding, Cove and I can just go do our own stuff without you, is what you decided on." That doesn't really sound like a joking text. You smirked, hitting send on that message. Cove looked at you curious, raising an eyebrow. What's happening?" Before you could even begin explaining anything to Cove, you both snapped your attention to the yelling from across the street. And there you saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of the grocery store. They both started waving widely to draw even more attention to themselves. Cove took a step in their direction. Grinning, he put his hands around his mouth and to better project his message across the street. "Hey!" I love how more, like, outgoing Cove is. Laughing and arm in arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street.
Hi.
"Oh yeah, Miranda, the girl with whose birthday party we went to. I remember now. Hi, I hope we weren't waiting too long. You weren't waiting too long."
Hey, buddies.
"Hey, buddies." "Hi, I don't know if we've ever met. Was I told who Terry was? I don't think we met Terry in the previous, step." "Hi, that joke was not funny. I'm amazed. How did you appear out of nowhere like that? Hey, I'm so happy to see you two. I thought you both knew better than to jaywalk." Wordlessly waved. "Hey, I'm so happy to see you two." Now that they were here, their joke on you was already long forgotten in your mind. Terry and Miranda giggled, smiling wide at your declaration. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove and crushed him in a painfully tight hug. "You're finally here. It's been so long. What took you?" He did his best to eke out a reply with his chest being compressed. Sorry. Eventually she let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Standing there, Miranda shifted her weight to her other hip. She watched Cove patiently with a bashful smile. "Welcome back." "Thanks." It finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you could have another afternoon like this again. They didn't either.
So?
"Cove." Terry poked Cove square in the chest. "You're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday."
No way.
"Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with Orca activities." When Cove wasn't at his part-time job or pursuing his athletic interests, he volunteered for the Ocean Restoration California affiliation, ORCA. Yeah, I'm not surprised. The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollution from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. It didn't surprise you one bit when he started getting involved with them. It was Cove's activity. You joined ORCA too after learning of it. You were an ORCA member and introduced Cove to it. It was Cove's activity. Their big smash event for the year is coming right up, isn't it? Yeah, there's not that much more to do before then, but I'm kind of looking forward to the fundraising push. You nodded, wondering how the event would turn out this year. I know you can do it, and even if it goes really bad, it'll still look good on a college application at least. That's true. Hey, guess what else? We don't have to stand here to say stuff. Let's go, I would like a meal now. Perking up, Cove nodded in agreement. Yeah, for sure. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly to stop and eat. The rest of the afternoon and evening passed by in a blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. You were walking tiredly after such a long day. You strolled with a skip in your step. You ambled along. Cove was giving you a piggyback ride home. Yeah, Cove was giving you a piggyback ride home. It was a long day out and about. You appreciated that you could rely on him to make things more comfortable for you. You tightened your grip on Cove and turned your head ever so slightly, peering at his face out of the corner of your eyes. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. It was out of character. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead and left you alone with your own thoughts. It surprised you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you.
Hi.
It feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same. And they're not. They've changed. They're still changing. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true. The things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Yeah, I know that happens. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. You were still set on that for yourself. You wanted to go to school full-time, to go to school part-time, to work full-time, to work part-time, to focus on time that's not school or work. Go to school full-time. To work full-time, to work part-time, to focus on time that's not school. Yeah, I mean, and that was the basics. For your education, you thought you'd attend a community college, attend a public university, go to a private college, join a trade school, take online classes. I mean, I attended a public university, so take online classes, and that was all. And for that, you wanted to stay local, go to a different part of the state, go out of state, go abroad, travel around to different places. I wouldn't have minded. I didn't really, when I was looking for colleges, I didn't mind traveling, because I'm not really a traveling kind of person, but if it's a good school, I would travel for a good school. And I did end up applying to a number of out-of-state schools, but eventually I stuck into my local school because my local school was really good and they had a really great program for my major. And many of my friends were also going to that same school, so, you know, and it would be cheaper for my parents because I ended up getting like a half, I think I got a half scholarship or something along those lines, some percentage of a scholarship. So yeah, I'll say stay local because that's what I actually did in real life. It'd all be happening so soon. You were already applied to schools. You started to prepare for what was coming. You hadn't begun to do anything about that yet. I would have already like had a school lined up by this point. It's summer before college. Yeah, I would have already applied to school. And you've been open about your situation, and everyone knew. And you'd been open about your situation, everyone knew. And you only had spoken about this with family and those you were close to, like Cove. And you kept all of this to yourself, and Cove was the only person who knew. Now you'd open about your situation, and everyone knew. Now you wondered what Cove had in mind. You'd heard him consider some things for his future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Cove stopped in the middle of the street. He sighed and put you down. You were both outside of your houses. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the right words to say. So, you're planning on going to school and stuff in Sunset Bird? Yeah. Cove closed his eyes and nodded while he composed his thoughts. He looked at you and he lifted his head.
I mean...
I decided on something. Well, kind of. He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm, and then his expression grew more serious. I'm not gonna decide on a school or a career. Not this summer. I'm gonna stay here, at least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place. I'll keep working my job, keep doing my volunteer stuff, and everything else. That's cool. Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall or next year, or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever's happening. I'm not gonna crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I just can't do it. That's perfectly fair. It's not how I do things, but if that's how Cove does things, some people need that extra time. They just need that extra time to figure out what they want to do with life, which I think is smart if you really aren't sure. Because I feel like if you're gonna take a major step like go to college, you gotta commit to it. Like, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of time. You gotta make sure you know what you want. His brow furrowed and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him. I guess it'll be me and you, right here for a while longer. His eyes were glossy. You weren't going to be separated, and that's meant a very great deal to him. Your plan sounds very you. You nodded understandingly. You were glad the two of you would be in Sunset Bird together. Somehow, I'm not surprised things turned out like this. You weren't sure how to react. You were glad the two of you would be in Sunset Bird together. Elated, you smiled. Cove looked relieved that you were happy with this turn of events. I'll see you tomorrow, Vaughn. I'll see you. Night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug. It knocked the breath out of you, yet couldn't have been a more reassuring feeling. You returned his embrace and stayed that way for as long as you could.
Good night.
Night, Cove. I'm really enjoying... I'm assuming a lot of these actions are because I set the assertiveness level to high, and I'm really enjoying it. I really love that Cove is actually initiating things with me, which is great. That's what I want. He finally let go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered, how many more times will he be able to say that he'll see you tomorrow? You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned towards your own house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer. Sweet! We've got a whole new set of moments to choose from. Now, before I do anything, I first would like to give a shout out to Death Knight of Anime, who mentioned to me in a couple of comments, warning me to specifically leave happiness for last. So thank you, Death Knight of Anime, for not only informing me of this, but being very spoiler-free about it. I appreciate it. So, let's take a look at some of the other ones. We have Hang, Errands, Talks, Charity, Drive, that's cool, Reflection, Late Shift, Serendipity, Boating, and Happiness. So I think for the very first time, other than Happiness, none of the DLCs really jump out at me as being ones that I want to do first. For the other two stages, I think for the most part, the DLC ones were slightly more enticing than the base moments. But no, I think I'm actually more interested in hitting up some of the base moments first. So let's start with Hang. I'm curious, like, what that's going to constitute as, like, what are we going to do while we're hanging? You grabbed the large beach towel from off your bed and stuffed it into a bag. You had already packed your water bottle for your upcoming beach hangout session. I'm assuming with Cove or with other people. The stars had aligned, and somehow everyone was free today. Yeah, Miranda had set things up with several bubbly phone calls with you, Cove, and Terry to find a time to hit the beach. Oh, nice. Because Terry's the one I haven't met yet, right? Have I not met Terry yet? We'll see. You were hoping that this would be a fun time together. Oh. Wow. Check out my man. Check out my man right there. This is a great way to start off our part 3, our stage 3. I'm not complaining. Cove sat on your windowsill and kicked one of his legs into the air idly. He already had his swimsuit on, and his towel was bundled under his arm in a misshapen ball. He'd shown up earlier that morning with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. He was chatting as you caught up into his preparation. But seriously, I couldn't find my swimsuit this morning. I looked everywhere. It had disappeared. I had no idea what I was going to do. You could have gotten a new one somewhere. What happened to all your other swimsuits? You don't have to wear a swimsuit to be on a beach. Yeah, it completely vanished somehow, just like your old sand pail. You stayed quiet. What happened to all your other swimsuits? I know that's not your only one. Cove looked away and shrugged. I might have some laundry to do. Anyways, I don't know why it was in the bathroom when I've never put it there. He gave a small smile and readjusted the towel in his arms. You now could see that it had been folded at some point, but then rolled up and carried without much care.
I'm so glad.
But I'm just glad I found it. It would have been really terrible to lose my favorite trunks. It was nice to see Cove so happy and comfortable in what he was wearing. You walked over to your dresser and mused about how you had picked out your own swimsuit. I'm really loving how Cove is a lot more organically more confident and comfortable. He's just, I don't know, I love it. I love it. I love the closer to adult Cove. Teenager Cove. Your height had complicated shopping a little. Not all your suits were made to properly fit people like you. And then for the shape of your body, you were heavy set, you were chubby, you were generally medium, you were slender, you were scrawny. So, when I was at that age, not anymore. Right now I have a bit more of a dad bod. Parenthood has done that to me. But certainly back when I was in high school, college, elementary school, pretty much before I turned before my early 30s. I would say, like, even by the time I hit 30, I was still relatively skinny. Certainly very skinny when I was in high school. But I ate a lot. Yeah, I was that kid, annoyingly for many of you, I'm sure. Annoyingly that kid who just ate everything under the sun and just stayed like a beanpole. Yeah, I'm sure thinking about it right now, where I'm at the moment, that's really aggravating and annoying. But I'm not like that anymore. Metabolism definitely slowed down a lot by the time I hit 35, I would say. So, see, I was skinny. I wouldn't consider myself... I don't think I was scrawny. I mean, I didn't hit the gym. Maybe I was scrawny. I was slender. I mean, I was a wuss, so I was really scrawny more than anything else when I'm about to do college. Yeah. Because I didn't really, like, hit the gym until college. Yeah, I didn't really hit the gym until college. So, I wouldn't call myself medium. I think I'm between medium and I don't have as much of a spare tire, I would say. I definitely could be. I'm definitely above the ideal weight for my height, but I wouldn't say that I'm. You could call me chubby, I guess, but I don't think I'm that chubby. I'd like to think I'm not that chubby. But anyway, back to going into college. It's between slender and scrawny. If I'm going to pick something that's very representative of this general area, I would say slender, because by the time I hit college, I really started to hit the gym more, and I don't think I would have called myself scrawny, so I'm just gonna say I was slender. And you had noticeable muscles, you had a little muscle definition, your body was soft, your body was delicate. I'm gonna say I definitely did not have any muscle definition. No. I wouldn't say my body was delicate, though. I wasn't a stick. I was definitely a beanpole, but I wasn't a stick. I had a little bit of chunk. My body was soft. There was a smooth feel to your build without any hard muscles, even if you flexed. You'd kept mostly the same shape you'd had throughout your teenage years. You were used to your body, and your body was used to your habits.
Are you okay?
You alright? Which makes me a little bit, like, which would probably make me a little self-conscious, because I would like to think that between me and Cove is definitely the more athletic, more defined he's not crazy muscular. I mean, he's 18, but I mean, he's fit enough. Definitely more fit than I was, by far. Oh yeah, I was thinking about some things. What things? Just myself and my body, really. His eyebrow rose at your admission of self-reflection. And what do you think? What did you think of who you were? You considered your identity further. You had always felt sure about your gender. You wondered if your gender was really something you felt right about. No, I always considered myself a male. I never really thought anything differently. So yeah, I had always felt sure about my gender. Being called him was right for you. And you had a naturally flat chest. That's the way you wanted it to be. You generally wore a padded bra over your chest. Very much no. You had breast augmentation surgery. You left it like that, but were considering options for it. You used a padded bra for now, no, that's the way I wanted it to be. That's the way you wanted it to be. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. You were confident in yours, you were comfortable in yours, you weren't really content with yours, you hated your body, you knew you had body dysphoria. So here's the thing, like I wasn't confident in my body, but not because of gender. I wasn't confident in my body because I was scrawny. I was scrawny, no muscular definition, had nothing to do with gender. So this is a little confusing because everything leading up to this was all about, it seemed like, gender identity. Am I answering to this in general, or I'm answering this in terms of like my, you know what, just because it's between comfortable and confident, and because there were parts of my body, I mean, I feel like everyone, no matter how crazy fit you are, no matter how crazy good looking you might happen to be, based on other people's subjective, opinions of you, everyone's gonna have something about their body that they probably didn't like or would have preferred to be different. So, and for me, it's more, I would like to be a lot more muscular. So I'm gonna say not confident, but comfortable. You weren't really content with yours. I mean, I was fine with it. I was healthy. I just, don't expect me to do a lot of heavy lifting at that time, at least. You were comfortable in yours. Your body was you, and it was good, that one that you felt content in. You used to not feel as good when you were younger, but you had since grown into your body. You felt more at home now and less uncomfortable. See, this is making me feel like, I mean, you weren't really content with yours. Maybe I should say that, because it doesn't, like, I wasn't content. You really weren't really content with yours. There were things you didn't like. You didn't hate it per se, but it wasn't all that you wanted it to be either. You had pretty much always been unhappy with your body. Even when you were younger, it felt off, and that still hadn't changed. You didn't feel like who you wanted to be. But that feels more like my gender thing. That's the thing. It feels more like my gender thing. See, there's the part that I don't 100% agree with, is you didn't feel like who you wanted to be. Like, to me, that feels more like an identity thing, and it's not an identity thing. This was my body. Like, I did identify with my body. It's just I would have preferred myself to be a little bit more in shape, You had pretty much always been unhappy with your body. Even when you were younger, it felt off, and that still hadn't changed. It didn't feel off, that's the thing. Like, my body didn't feel off. Like, I just felt like I could hit the gym. So I don't know if I like these responses. I'm just gonna say you were comfortable in yours. Your body was you, and it was good that you felt content with it. You used to not feel as good when you were younger, but you had since grown into your body. You felt more at home now and less uncomfortable. You focused on Cove again. He smiled at you and he tilted his head, a question still in his eyes. He was waiting for you to come to an answer, but before you could, you had something to say to him. What do you think about me? You like the way I look, right? What do you think about me? About how I look, I mean. Cove smirked a little, his eyes taking you in easily. Fishing for compliments, Vaughn? You look great. Everyone knows that, including you. By the way, unless that's changed. You pouted, you laughed, you blushed. I didn't want a compliment, I was just asking. So what if I wanted you to compliment me? You still should. You blushed. You felt your cheeks heat up and looked away. Cove shook his head. His hand went up to try to unsubtly cover his smile. I was kind of worried you were so in your own head because something was wrong. Guess not. I'm glad.
Hey.
Hey, Vaughn. Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. You're looking particularly shapely today. It's... He answered not with words, but with a solid OK sign with both hands, and that cheeky smile. Cove suddenly flushed when he realized how boldly he'd complimented you. He stood by it, even if he was a little red. I'm just curious how things would pan out if I said... Here, I'm just curious. So if I did say I wasn't really content with mine, how would this conversation go? What do you think about me?
Vaughn.
Cove frowned, his eyebrows furrowed concern as he was trying to find the best words to say. Then his eyes warmed like he was looking at something truly special.
Vaughn.
Vaughn, you are wonderful. No matter what anybody thinks, you, me, anyone, you are still wonderful. It just can't be helped. It's a fact of life. Cove stopped speaking and looked at you for a moment. He kicked his feet as he considered something and then nodded with a thoughtful expression on his face. He stared forward and directly met your eyes. I've known you for a long time, since we were kids, you know. I've seen you just about every day for the past decade, so I think it's fair for me to say this.
It's nice.
Each day, you're different before...
Vaughn.
I don't like how this conversation's going. I'm gonna go back and say I'm comfortable. I'm not... What do you think about me? And how about I look? Fishing for compliments. Yeah, I still like this just fine. Ignore me. I'm just gonna keep going. I was kind of worried you were so in your own head because something was wrong. Guess not. I'm glad.
Hey.
Hey, Vaughn. Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. You're looking particularly shapely today. It's... He answered not with words, but with a solid OK sign with both hands. With both hands? What's an OK sign with both hands? And the same cheeky smile. Cove suddenly flushed when he realized how boldly he'd complimented you. He stood by it, even if he was a little red. You were a little taken aback, then that came out of nowhere. You glanced at yourself. You like that? Yeah. You started to flex and show off jokingly. You flirtatiously stretched. You stood there stunned. You're so sweet and fantastic. You have some very good arms yourself. You hugged him. I'm gonna hug him. You hurried across your room and flung your arms around Cove. He chuckled back nervously after you've gotten to squeeze in. I mean, I've got my shirtless boyfriend is in front of me. Why wouldn't I want to hug him? I see you're putting those nice arms to good use. You cackled at his joke and hugged him tighter. When you both had gotten your giggles out, you let him go. Finally, you felt that was enough of that topic for one day. You went back to your original goal before you got sidetracked. You needed to pick what you wanted to wear to the beach. You chose to wear casual clothes instead. You picked a one-piece swimsuit. I was, again, very self-conscious about my body, like physical fitness-wise, so I'm not a fan of like going around shirtless, especially back then. It's like now I kind of got over it a little bit, but certainly back then I was super self-conscious. Not a two-piece bikini, a two-piece tankini. I'm gonna have to find out what that is. Do I want to know what it is? You wanted to wear your wetsuit. You wanted to wear swim trunks with no shirt. You decided to wear a Speedo without a top. Definitely not that. See, I would have worn my swim trunks with a shirt. That's what I would wear, swim trunks with a shirt. I picked a one-piece swimsuit. You chose to wear casual clothes instead. Yeah, sorry, Cove. I'm kind of hiding it. While you dug around in your drawers, you tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. You took sunglasses. I would wear sunglasses. You grabbed a hat, you brought a shawl, you took goggles. I took sunglasses. With that taken care of, you held your outfit together and looked at Cove. He was tapping his shoes on the side of the walls as he waited. You vaguely wondered if he thought that was an uncomfortable place to sit. You hoped if that was a comfortable place to sit. You hoped so, given how long you'd perched on it. Regardless, it was time for him to go. You weren't going to put on your beachwear with him just chilling there. I need to change. Cove smiled, content with being kicked out. All right. Cove lowered himself off the window and strolled past you to get to the door. He lightly brushed his finger against her cheek when he passed by.
Goodbye.
I'll see you out front. Okay. When you were alone, you got undressed and put your clothes on. You also checked your beach bag for the final time, and it seemed like you hadn't forgotten anything. You left your room and hurried down the stairs, ready to meet Cove. You made sure to lock your front door and walked outside.